Hi students, my name is Sunaina and I am here to teach you the subject of social studies. Today we would be learning chapter 5 in history, social and religious Reformation movements. Students, until now we have studied that the Europeans came to India and the British has established its supremacy. It fought the Carnatic War, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, and it conquered the areas of Carnatic and Bengal. And then it fought with the Maratha kings and got control over the entire Maratha kingdom. After that we saw wars in Karnataka. We also saw Hyder Ali, Tipu Sultan and the Anglo-Mysore wars as well. So as of now, the British is ruling from Pakistan to West Bengal, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So the entire Indian subcontinent, the undivided India, is under whose rule? Under the British's rule. So this is what's happening from the British's point of view. What about the Indians? What are they doing? Are they quiet? Are they very happy with the English rule? What do you think? Let us see. And how is social reform movements related to British? Do you think there is any relation? We shall see. So a quick background for you all before we go into learning the chapter. So when you learn a chapter, students, especially like this, you should know a little bit of background as to what is happening in society that led these movements to happen. So now that British is ruling the whole of India, do you think they know so many languages? Do you think they know, oh, the Hindus will have this rule, the Muslims will have this rule, and they'll make different laws for people of different regions and religions? They could not do all that. So they brought English education throughout the country and common civil law throughout the country, same law to apply to everyone throughout the country so that they could govern and administer more easily. And they also brought these concepts, very new concepts from Europe, like democracy, equality, and these concepts were finding place in the hearts of Indians. And now we shall see what all happened because of these movements. So one of the main causes is the British rule. Now let's start studying now that we have the background. So as discussed, students, what is the first thing we do when we start to learn a chapter? We first understand what all topics will be covered. We will be learning about the establishment of Brahmo Samaj and the reforms it brought. We will learn about the young Bengal movement. So you may find it so hard to study. So what do? We will make a map and study. Students, we will go as per the map. First we will learn about the movements in Bengal. Bengal because Calcutta was the capital of the British. So in Bengal we had the Brahmo Samaj and the young Bengal movement, only two. So whatever had to happen in Bengal, we finished studying. So on the east, we have completed studying. Then we come to the west and we will learn about the Arya Samaj, Prarthana Samaj and Satyashodak Samaj. And then we also saw reform movements amongst the Muslims called the Aligarh movement. So we've covered the east, the west. Now we would come towards the south. In south, we had our very own Swami Vivekananda, so we will learn about him. We will learn about Theosophical Society and we will also learn about Periyar movement. In the South India, we will learn about Narayana Guru Dharma Paripala Yoga movement and lastly about Periyar movement. So students, we have divided it map wise, region wise. You all learn for the exam point of view in the same way, it will be easy for you. Each day you all can learn one part of India and the movements that happened there. Let's begin learning. Before we go into each social reformer or each region, let us understand what led to social reformation. What is this social reform movement? Social reformation is an attempt. Means they are trying to do it, to reform a society, to bring transformation, change, positive change in a society. that practices discrimination amongst its members. Maybe there's discrimination, oh you're black, you're white, you're higher class, you're lower class, you're a Brahmin, you're a Shudra. There's a lot of discrimination. We have learnt in the chapters before. So we want to remove this. When we want to remove this, the movement that is trying to bring this change in society is social reformation. Is it important from the examination point of view? Just for 1 mark, the meaning or the definition they can ask you. What does Reformation try to do? It tries to bring back a society that is equal, that is humane, where we just see each other as fellow human beings. We make no differences, no discrimination. What could be an aim of Reformation? So the most basic aim of Reformation movement is to declare the value of individuals' self-respect. You should respect every individual as a fellow human being and not on grounds of, oh, you're male, you're female, oh, you're high, you're low. No such discrimination. We give everyone self-respect. The 19th century is considered as the Reformation and New Awakening time in the history of India. That's why these movements are also called the social reform movements of the 19th century. But why 19th century? Why not the 18th? Why not the 17th? Why not the 21st? We will see and understand what was the situation at that time that these reform movements happened then. So with the implementation of English education, I already told you all, the British has come, they have implemented English education throughout the country and they have also made a uniform civil code. A new class of educated Indians was created and now there are the values of democracy, nationalism and equality. Indians know about these values. They are no more concerned, oh you're from the Maratha kingdom, oh you're from Karnataka. They all recognize themselves as Indians. So now the educated Indians have started looking at the Indian society very differently. When we tell they have started looking at the Indian society very differently, they have started questioning. So earlier when someone said, oh you're born a Brahmin, you're supposed to become a Brahmin, you're supposed to learn the rituals, you're born a Shudra so you cannot learn the rituals and become a Brahmin or do the work of a Brahmin, they started questioning this. Why? Okay. So because they started looking at Indian society in a very different way, it was time to bring reform in the Indian society. Even the British started to take interest because it would be easier for them to administer the country this way. So they used to call this by a policy called the white man's burden. They felt it was their burden to carry the native Indians from all these practices that are superstitious, of blind faith, non-scientific and so on. But they had a lot of economic interest and political interest in doing it. They were not completely selfless about bringing civilization. They wanted to do it for their interests. So a new identity in all of this, a new identity was born called the Indian. The Indians started to look at themselves with a new identity of Indian instead of, oh, you're from the Maratha kingdom, oh, you're from the Carnatic, you're a Shudra, you're a Brahmin. They all wanted to now look at themselves with one identity, that we are Indians. Many people lacked rights before this, like Shudras, Dalits, women. So these reformers started looking at this more closely. Many movements opposed these in ancient times, in medieval times, but now in 19th century, everyone was more united, more aware to come forward and participate in reforming the society. What were the issues they discussed, students? What were the issues that were troubling the society that they wanted to remove? Caste system, gender discrimination, sati system, widow remarriage restriction system, denial of education to Shudras and other lower communities. These were the issues that the social reformers tried to address. For 1 mark, you should learn at least 3 issues It's very, very, very important from examination point of view. Who are the most prominent or popular social reformers? Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Dayanand Saraswati, Jyotiba Phule, Swami Vivekananda, Annie Besant, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Periyar, Narayana Guru became a part of these movements. We will learn what each social reformer did in detail. What was the main feature of this period? It was to stop the social evils. And how did they want to stop? They not only wanted people to become more aware that this is wrong, they also wanted to put a very strict law that if you do this, it is wrong. Like for example, there was sati. What is sati? So after the husband dies, the woman sits on the burning fire and she sacrifices her life also. So they made a law that you can't do sati. If you try to do sati, the family will be punished. So they tried to bring laws to stop these social evils. So students, there are two movements that happened in Bengal, the Brahmo Samaj movement and the Young Bengal movement. Now we will learn about these two movements that happened in Bengal. Let's begin with Brahmo Samaj. Does anybody know who began Brahmo Samaj? It was founded by our very own Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He is one of the most important social reformer. Almost every year they ask a question on Raja Ram Mohan Roy amongst all the other social reformers. He is the chief initiator of social reforms in India during the modern times. He was the most important one. He had a deep knowledge of everything. He knew Sanskrit, he knew Persian, he knew Arabic literature, like he knew so many languages, so he was very well read. He knew Hindu philosophies very well, he even knew the Quran, and he had also studied other religions in detail. And he was very critical. He used to look at everything in a very scientific point of view. He had even learned Hebrew because he wanted to know what is Christianity all about as well. And he even learned Greek because he wanted to read the Bible in its native or original language. So he had a lot of craving for knowledge to understand what is right, what is wrong. So he started Atmiya Sabbah in Calcutta along with some of his friends. Atmiya Sabbah means a group where he and his friends would come together and they would talk about different philosophies, different religions, different spiritual values and so on. The Sabbah had one aim. What was the aim? To eradicate social, religious maladies from the society of Bengal. So if there was anyone doing any social evil in the name of religion, like for example animal sacrifice, sati, so on in the name of religion, they wanted to remove it from Bengal. So after they started Atmiya Sabbah, later they started Brahmo Samaj in 1928. After reading so many scriptures and discussing in the Atmiya Sabbha with his friends, Raja Ram Mohan Roy believed that the caste system makes no sense and he wanted to work really hard amongst the Hindus to remove caste system and all the other superstitions. Superstitions like you have to tie lemon and chili and so on. Raja Ram Mohan Roy and other Brahmo Samaj followers wanted to rebuild a new Hindu society based on philosophical foundations of the Upanishads. So the Upanishads never spoke of making the caste system. So he wanted to say that the real Hinduism believes in equality and he wanted to revive Hinduism on the basis of the Upanishads. So he made a lot of efforts. Because of his efforts, the then Governor General William Bentinck brought in a law. What did the law say? It prohibited or banned the sati system in 1829. Raja Ram Mohan Roy tried to develop rationality. He told people to think, what sense does it make for a woman to jump into the fire after the husband is dead? She can still live. What if there are children? She can nurture them alone. She can bring them up alone. So he tried to put reason and remove such superstitions amongst the people. Very important question from exam point of view. Who was the Governor General who prohibited sati and in which year? William Bentinck in the year 1829. And who was the social reformer who worked very hard for it? Raja Ram Mohan Roy from the Brahmo Samaj. Raja Ram Mohan Roy also published a journal. Again a very important question. Name the newspapers or journals written by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. It was called Samvada Kaumudi and it was written in the Bengali language. Did Brahmo Samaj have any other aims apart from prohibition of sati? Yes, it did. What were they? Let us look at it. They advocated monotheism. What is monotheism? There is only one God. So in Hinduism, they worship multiple gods. Brahmo Samaj believed that there is only one God, or they believed all gods are one. So they advocated monotheism. They opposed meaningless rituals. We have already discussed, like sati. Next, they said every person should live with dignity and no law or ritual should violate this provision. This was mainly aimed at telling that just because someone is a Dalit or a Shudra, you cannot discriminate them. They have the right to live a life of respect and they can be considered equal under the law. They should be considered equal before the law. Brahmo Samaj intended to assure equality to women. How did they want equality for women? By opposing polygamy. What is this polygamy? So in earlier days, there was this practice where a man could have multiple wives, more than one wife, sometimes two, sometimes three. So they said this is so wrong for the woman because women are not allowed to have multiple marriages but man have. So they said that this is wrong. There should not be polygamy. They also said that a woman should have right in the property even if she is a widow. They also opposed child marriage. In the exam, they also very particularly asked, what did Brahmo Samaj do for women's rights? So you should write all of these points. They opposed polygamy, they opposed child marriage, and they also wanted property rights for widows. Next, Brahmo Samaj declared that one can take good things from anywhere. Brahmo Samaj also declared that when there are good values, doesn't matter where it is from, it can be accepted. It also said that it's written in the Vedas and Upanishads as well. For example, if there is this value of democracy that we got through English education and it's good, we can imbibe it in our everyday lives. If there are better values in the West, for example, if Bible writes about love for all, we can also learn from it and try to apply it in our lives. So they said that we can hear and listen good values that come from all over the world. He also gave a lot of importance to English education. Apart from these, Raja Ram Mohan Roy wanted the Indians to welcome the thinking process of the Europeans. In this background, what did he do? He established a lot of schools and the Vedanta College in Calcutta. So in exam, from 1 mark point of view, they often ask, name the journal written by Raja Ram, Samvada Kaumudi. Name the college set up by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the Vedanta College. Where was this established? At Calcutta. Rabindranath Tagore has also said something about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. What did he say? He said, Raja Ram Mohan Roy is the harbinger of modern India, progenitor of Indian social reformation movement and the prophet of Indian nationalism. What is the meaning of harbinger? The person who's brought, who's taken us towards modern India. Progenitor. Progenitor means he laid, like the seed, the genesis of Indian social reformation. Like the birth of social reformation happened because of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He was a prophet. Like there are prophets who say, we will make this religion, we will make these values. So he was the prophet for Indian nationalism. Okay, students, in your exam they may not ask you what did Rabindranath Tagore say, but they may give you the quote and be like, who said this? You should know it was said by Rabindranath Tagore about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. By saying these words, Tagore has summarized the contribution of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Brahmo Samaj to Indian social reformation. So students, we learned about how extensively well-read and how many languages were known by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. We learnt about how he started the Atmiya Sabbah and then the Brahmo Samaj. We understood the aims of Brahmo Samaj. We also learnt about how Raja Ram Mohan Roy worked with Governor General William Bentinck and prohibited the sati.